We are now looking at target 7B. We are going to look at polynomial long division. So our math learning objective is to divide, I can use long division to divide polynomials. Alright, so the first thing we're going to look at is actually not polynomial long division. We're going to just look at regular long division. Okay, and divide 3,453 divided by 13. And we're going to try and do it without a calculator. Okay. So, remember how we set up long division is you create like what I call a house. Okay. This number, we call the dividend. It's what's being divided. And that goes under our house. I didn't mean to write dividend, I meant to write the number. And then this number is called the divisor. And that goes out here. Okay? And then whatever we get up here is called our quotient. And that's our answer. Alright, so how you do long division is there's like 3 steps. Your first step is to divide. Now that sounds easy, but you're going to try and divide in pieces. So we're doing 13, and we want to look at just our first part first. 13, or 3 divided by 13. Now we can't divide 3 by 13. It's not big enough. So then we look at our first 2 numbers. So 34 divided by 13. That does divide. All you have to do is think about how many times 13 goes into 34. Well, it's 13 and then 26. The next one would be 39, so it doesn't quite fit 3 times. It fits only 2 times. Okay? The biggest thing is lining up your work. This was our last place that we were looking at, right? So the 2 lines right up over that 4. Okay? Our second step is to multiply. So I'm going to multiply 2 by 13. 2 times 13 is 26. Our next step is to subtract. So we have 34 minus 26, and we get 88. Sorry, just 8. And then our last step is to bring down and repeat. Okay. So by bring down, I'm going to bring down all my leftover numbers that we haven't used yet. So now I have the number 853, and I'm going to repeat. Okay? So can 13 go into 8? No. Can it go into 85? Yes. We just have to figure out how many times. And this is kind of just a guess and check thing. How many times does 13 go into 85? Well, again, I'm going to count by 13. So 26. Right, if I add 13 to that, then we have 39. Then we have 52. All right, 39 plus 13 is 52. And then we have 65, right? And 52 plus 13. And then we have 78, I believe. And then if I add another 13, that's going to be too much. So I was counting on my fingers, but we counted 6 13s. So that's kind of a way to do it. You can kind of check on a calculator for this, but once we have the polynomial long division, we won't ever be using such big numbers. Okay. So then multiply 6 times 13, which again is 78. We're multiplying purple. Then we subtract is our next step. 85 minus 78 is 7. And then bring down and repeat. So now we just have to bring down that 3. Again, 13 does not go into 7, but it will go into 73. Again, it went into 6 times with 78, so it's going to be less than that. So it's only going to go in 5 times. 5 times 13, I believe, is 65. Again, subtract that. We get 8. Okay. I think that makes sense. And so then this number here is our remainder. So a lot of times we'll write remainder 8. Another way I could write this number, right, is it's 265, and if I write it as like a mixed number, it's also 8/13, right, our remainder over what we divided by. Okay, so it goes in 265 times evenly, and there's 8/13 left over. Alright, now we want to look at what we're doing actually, which is polynomial long division. It's going to use a lot of the same steps as regular long division, but we're going to define it first. Okay, so for our polynomial long division, it's very similar. We still have the house. Okay, and under the house is our polynomial. So that's our polynomial function. And out here is our divisor function. Okay, so that's still our divisor. And when we do all of our division, right, we get our quotient. Okay, so we say q of x. And again, we say q of x because these are all just functions. They're going to have x's in them. They're going to be equations, expressions. And our answer, right, and then we might have a remainder function at the bottom. Okay. And then when we get our answer, we write it as our quotient plus our remainder divided by our divisor. Okay. Just like we wrote that, right? We wrote the quotient and then we had our remainder over our divisor. So we're going to write that the same way. Okay? Alright, let's look at example 2. And we're using long division. So we draw our house. And our polynomial that we're going to divide goes inside our house. Right? And our divisor goes on the outside of the house. Now in our regular long division, you look at like the first place value to try and divide. Here, we're going to look at just the first term. Right? We talked about terms in our other target, or at the beginning. So we're going to look at just this term. Okay? And you divide it by just the first term of the divisor as well. So you don't divide 2x squared by x plus 5, you just divide it by x. Okay? If you've been working on that factoring packet, then you should have seen these, right? 2x squared divided by x is just going to be 2x. Again, lining it up is important. I'm going to line 2x up over the other x's. So I'm going to put it here. Okay. Now we're going to multiply. When I multiply, I want to write that there. When we multiply by just, we multiply by the whole thing. So you divide by the first one, You multiply by the whole thing. So I'm multiplying 2x times x plus 5. So 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times 5 is 10x. Again, I'm lining the x squareds up with the x squareds and the x's with the x's. Our next step is to subtract. I just changed the signs. Both of these were positive, so I'm changing them both to negative. 2x squared minus 2x squared is 0, which is what we want. We want those to cancel. And 3x minus 10x is minus 7x. Right? And then our next step is just to bring down and repeat. So minus 35. Again, this is gone. I wouldn't really write the 0 there, but just to kind of show it for this first time. Okay, so now again, we're dividing our first term here by our first term here. Negative 7x divided by x is negative 7. So I'll put minus 7. Then we are going to multiply. Negative 7 times x is negative 7x. Negative 7 times 5 is negative 35. In our subtraction step, we're really changing the signs. Okay, so change your signs. Negative 7x plus 7x goes away. And negative 35 and 35 goes away. So we're left with a remainder of 0. That's next, this divided evenly. So our answer is just what's on top. I don't have to worry about dividing or adding my remainder on. All right, looking at example 3. Example 3 is tricky for a weird reason. So we have to make sure that we have all the place values, right, represented. So for example, if I wanted to divide 205, this 0, there's nothing in the tens place. It still has to be there. It'd be a lot different than just writing 25. Okay? We have to do the same thing when it comes to polynomials. But instead of like the place value, it is the exponents. So we have our polynomial of 3x cubed. If you notice, there's no x squared. We have to put a placeholder for it. And then on the outside, we have x plus 1. So we're going to start by dividing, right, our first term here and our first term here. 3x cubed divided by x is 3x squared, so I'll put it over my x squared place. Again, if you need to show your work for that on the outside, feel free. Okay, but as you get better, you probably will not need to show that as much. And then we're going to multiply, right, again, we're multiplying by the whole thing. 3x squared times x is 3x cubed. 3x squared times 1 is 3x squared. With our subtraction step, we're just changing the signs. These cancel out. And then we have 0 minus 3, which is negative 3x squared. We're going to bring down the rest of our work. So then I'm dividing this by this. Negative 3x squared divided by x, right, goes to negative 3x, so minus 3x. So we multiply again. Negative 3x times x is negative 3x squared. Negative 3x times 1 is negative 3x. And then for subtraction, we change our signs. These cancel out. X plus 3x is 4x. And we bring down our 5. Last step. 4x divided by x is just 4. Multiply. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times 1 is 4. In our subtraction step, we change our signs, so this changes to negative. These cancel out. 5 minus 4 is 1. I know I'm done because x cannot divide into 1. Right? So then I have my answer is 3x squared minus 3x plus 4. Our remainder is 1, so we have to add that on. And we say it's positive, so it's plus 1 out of x plus 1. Because x plus 1 is what we were dividing by. So this whole thing is our answer. All right, I'm going to see if there's anything. We're going to do example 4, our last example, and then we'll do example 5 in class. Just kind of have an in-class example. So again, we're going to start by drawing our house. Okay. And this one is also tricky with our polynomial, teaching us to be careful. Because, again, just like if I had the number 205, right, my hundreds place is first, then my tens place, and then my ones place. That would be very different than maybe the number 520, right? Those are not equal. I can't just mix around the numbers. Same thing with polynomials. I have to have them in the right order. So I'm going to start with my x cubed, then my x squared, then my x, then, I didn't actually write an x, then my minus 2. Okay. Okay, and we are dividing by x squared plus 2. Okay. So we're going to start by dividing 3x cubed and x squared, right, just the first ones. 3x cubed divided by x squared. So 2 x's are going away. So that's just x. Again, I'm going to put it over the x spot. Then we multiply by the whole thing. 3x times x squared is 3x cubed. 3x times 2 is 6x. Again, I have to put it under the x spot. So be very careful with lining up your work. Organization is everything. And then we change our signs to subtract. So this goes away. X minus 6x is negative 5x. But we have to bring down, right, our other work. So this gets brought down here. Okay, it does get brought down in front of it. And then this gets brought down behind it. Okay, so make sure everything's kind of staying in order. Now again, dividing our first number here and our first number here. Negative x squared divided by x squared is not 0. All right, there's a 1 here and a 1 here. And negative 1 divided by 1 is negative 1. Be very careful if those like numbers cancel out and there's no 1 in front. Okay, so that's minus 1. 1 times x squared is negative 1x squared. Negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. In our subtraction step, we're changing our signs, canceling. Negative 5x, negative 2 plus 2 cancels. Okay, so I guess I already kind of brought that down. I kind of just did it in order. Now, this is our remainder because I cannot divide negative 5x over x squared, right? X squared doesn't go into x. So that doesn't work, okay? So now we're just writing out our answer. We have 3x minus 1. And then our remainder is negative, so we're subtracting 5x over x squared plus 2. And that is it. I will see you guys. We'll do example 5 in class. Have a wonderful rest of your day.